What's up, everyone? This is Spiritual Journey Part 2. I'm the host, Christian Ballard. Let's get right into it. Okay, so if you guys have come here for Part 2, please hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, please share it. Some of the things that we talk about in here, they're not going to be on the algorithm. They are a little bit sensitive. They, don't want you to really hear this stuff because it's pertaining to you, yourself, your personal spiritual journey. It's not something that they want to advertise, so you have to be the person who's going to have to share this. I can only do my part. So thank you for stopping by. I appreciate it. Please send this to someone who you think needs to hear this as well. Spiritual journey is just a talk. I'm just having an open conversation about some of the things that I have personally experienced in my walk. I was raised a kingdom kid. I read the Bible from the time I could start reading. I had my questions about organized religion. I started studying other religions like Islam and just the Pope of All and the Inca mythology, and of course the pantheon from all different kind of ancient traditions and races and cultures. So you kind of start to see the same thing said over and over and over again. And I was still drawing this comic book and creating this graphic novel, but just thought it'd be good to make a video blog about how complex and how intricate this stuff is, and how intertwined it is, and how much it actually reflects on your own human psyche and your own reality and your own experiences in this reality. Above me, you see the transition of the Tao sequence from like the chaotic universe to the modern universe, the entrance of darkness, and then the balance of light and dark, which we're at right now. And those are just like the very basics of how the spiritual presence is still affecting us today. We can go around and around and around and say, this person's right and that person's wrong, but the reality is, there is a reality out there where you're all right and you're all wrong. It's just one of those facts that we have to live with. The spiritual awakening that we're all going to experience here soon is going to turn everyone's reality upside down. What we've tried to construct as a race, and what we have tried to preserve and put our sights on as valuable, is actually not. And it's very interesting that we're hitting this height of advanced technology to the point where we can almost live forever. But a lot of people are thinking now, what's the point of living forever if you're not happy? I mean, a lot of people are working. They're working until they're super old. They're living in poverty. There's still war. There's still crime. There's still racism. So how do we achieve this perfect idea of wanting to live forever when people are still so cruel to each other? And the reason that's simple, we have to have this spiritual awakening. It's something that must happen in the human society for us to continue to evolve and to live amongst each other and amongst the stars. We can't continue this culture of wastefulness, of death, of imprisonment, of devaluing. It's not going to be fulfilling. We've all seen what will happen when oppression is left unchecked. It's just more oppression. So having a good spiritual bounding and a good spiritual standing is going to be our first step to making sure that everyone has equality here in the future, sons, daughters, grandchildren, that they don't have to go through the same things that we're seeing right now in Ukraine and Russia, just senseless death and senseless war because people are just doing things because it's okay to do them. And even though we say that it's not okay, and even though we're a nation across the seas that condemns them, our powers that be do not. They publicly shame them, but it's just business as usual. It's the same thing day in and day out because there's no spiritual guidance at all from the people who are leading us. So us, the new leaders, must have this spiritual pressure. We have to have a spiritual awareness. We have to have a spiritual foundation before we make the same mistakes that they're making right now. When we look back at all the cultures, the Christians, the ancient Egyptians, the Greeks, and even the Incas, they have this understanding of a trinity of three separate planes of existence. You have yourself, you have the spiritual, and you have the worldly. These three spiritual pressures, these entities, whatever you want to call them, these realities, they all intertwine with how we deal with things, with people, with situations. They make up who we are. Just like our DNA makes up who we are, just like how our genome gives us the color of our eyes, our spiritual makeup helps us deal with certain things in our day-to-day life. Not having a spiritual boundary at all is dangerous, because then you're just going to basically react to how someone else is reacting to you. And this is something that I personally am still trying to enhance in my journey, being completely comfortable with myself inside and out, and understanding that no one can affect me. It's my reaction that means everything to any situation. So just harping on that, understanding that you have three different worlds at play at all times is very valuable. Your spiritual world, how you're dealing things in a spiritual manner is very important. How does it affect your physical world, and just how does it affect yourself, personally, just by yourself, no one else's involvement, just you. What are these three things, and how can we enhance them? How can we make them be more positive in our day-to-day interactions with people and places and things? Understanding your macabre, the Buddhists had a realization when we look at the Star of David in Judaism and Hebrew faith. It's the same thing that the Buddhists talk about with the macabre. You have an upper energy and a lower energy. If you look at the Star of David, it's basically just two triangles flipped upside down or opposite of each other and then stacked. Those are your two forces, your worldly and your spiritual energy, and then you yourself, you're the one who's you're the driver's seat. You're the one who's either feeding one or the other. Sometimes balance is needed, so you have to take into consideration everything. You can't let people walk over you. You can't let people talk to you a certain way. You can't, talk bad about yourself, because you're feeding that. You're going to feed that worldly negative energy, and if it's fed in a bad way, it could affect your spiritual energy. And same thing, if you're thinking that you're some high and mighty Christian, or you're this ultra saint, then you're going to feed your spiritual ego in a very bad and negative way. So it's all about balance. It's about being real and one with yourself, and then making those decisions as they come in a very uniform way, not just being emotional or reactive to it. When I was training in NFL, I met a martial arts master. He was a proficient in Jijujin. It was a different kind of Tai Chi. It was transferring of energy from one person to another and using my body as a vessel, basically. So it was really helpful when I was playing in NFL, because I would get double teamed by a guard or tackle, and so I could take the energy from the tackle and that force and that momentum, and then I could shift it over to the guard, keeping me in place. I really wasn't even doing anything at all. When I finally found this out, though, and I cracked it, it was my third year in minicamp, it was almost like someone hit me in the back of the head. I started seeing things completely differently, to the point where your energy is only there just to keep you alive, but everything else, every other energy from the sun, the grass, the water, everything else is there, and it can be used by you and for you. Knowing these things is crucial moving forward, because everything has energy, everything has mana, and everything has that power to be tapped into. We have to see it, and the only way you're going to see it is if you unlock all of your chakra points. That's going to be really important. The body has 7 chakra points. Your main chakra point that a lot of people know about and have heard of is your third eye. That's where your pineal gland is. It's the one that releases your dopamine basically when you're born and when you die. It gives you this grand psychological or psychoactive vision. When you get high, and that psychoactive properties that are reacting off that high is directly intact with your pineal gland and the ability to stimulate your nervous system and your immune system. So you're having a psychoactive, almost spiritual-like effect when you're high. Obviously, smoking cannabis it's not an overdose, so you can smoke as much as you want, but concentrated forms can for sure affect how you see it. And that's just, abundance of anything could be bad. You can get drunk and you can die from drinking too much water. These are just facts that we have to sit here and just live with. Nothing's going to change unless we can just live with these facts. Doing often meditation, eating well, exercising, being around good people. These are things that are going to help you open up your 7 chakras. You have to be active. If you're not active, the chakra can't move around your body the way it needs to. Thus, all your gates won't be open. So, moving around, being active, meditating, praying, being aware of those things. It's a daily practice. It's more like a lifestyle. But if you do those things, you can tap into it. And then when people lie to you, when they have come to you with bad intentions, you're going to be able to see that immediately. You're not going to have to think about it. You're not going to have to, ask a friend or like Snapchat someone of what's going on. You're going to have the intuition that something's off because your energy is aligned. And that's what this whole part is. This whole part of the series is just to get people's energy aligned. We're being taken advantage of as a society by the ultra rich and whatever you want to call them, the deep state. They're doing things without any kind of, they just don't care. They don't care what we think. They don't care how we are affected by it. They're looking out for themselves. So if we can change the way that, the majority of us think, we can't be like them. We must be against them because they're drowning us. They're taking away our freedoms. They're taking away our liberties one by one. We can't see it right now, but it's happening. There are people who are still dying from poverty. There's people who are still dying from starvation. There are people who are still dying from war. And it's 2022. We are able to access internet at the tip of our hands. We can get any information that we want in our hand, but we still can't solve a basic necessity like hunger. And that's just because our leadership is poor and our leadership has no spiritual standing. So even though they claim that they're Christians and that they promote a certain religion, you have to ask yourself, how are they doing that? By continuing this route of destruction and devaluing of Americans and people abroad? I mean, for me, it's a clear answer, no, and that's for both sides. There is no right side. They're all bad. And we have to be aware of that until they actually pick up the mantle and start leading us on a spiritual journey. They are always going to do these things that we see every single time we put them in office. They're going to be selfish. They're going to think about themselves, and they're only going to have their self-interest at heart. So let us become aware and see these things, and then hopefully we can use this awareness and this insight to help other people, and that's the way that this is going to change. Literally just being there for your brother, being there for your sister when they need help, when they ask, you are there to help them. If we can do that for each other, then a lot of this will change in the benefit, and we can give a great future for our children and the generations after us. That's going to be it for part 2. Please stick around for part 3. We're going to be here shortly with that. And like I said, like, share, subscribe, please. It means the world to me. Thank you guys. Love you so much, and I'll see you soon.